I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is John Megling. I'm one of the Microsoft SEs here at Tech Data. Handle mostly all the server products, specializing in mainly the virtualization technologies. So you may have talked to me or heard me do other webcasts, and basically like the Windows Server products, things like that. Today, just going to talk about SQL Server a little bit. Again, I know 2012 has been out for a little while, but just kind of hit some of those things from a sales/technical, concept that you may be interested in regarding SQL 2012. So hopefully it'll be pretty good. If you want to talk to me, again, if you have questions about the Microsoft Server products, I'm part of the Microsoft team. To get to Tech Data, a lot of people get here a different way, but the main number is 800-237-8931. The Microsoft team is extension 82031, and I'm option 2 off of that extension. So there's a lot of things we can do for you guys, especially if you're a Microsoft partner. And if you're not a Microsoft partner, or if you're registered, I would definitely encourage you to to up your partnership level or become a partner. If you want to talk to us about that, definitely you can talk to me about it. Or we have other people, especially Joe, who's also on the call with us today, who's on our core team, which is the same extension, 82031, and then it's option 1 off of that. So with that, just to kind of, I know Joe's posting that there so everybody can see it. I appreciate that, Joe. So to kind of get some of those housekeeping things out of the way in the front there. So this is part of a series of webcasts we're doing on different technologies. So if it's something you're interested in, we're doing them on virtualization and productivity and Office 365. So definitely look for that from us. So I'm going to go ahead and get going here. So when we look at SQL Server, has evolved over the last decade, and it basically increases to be more powerful when it comes to performance and capabilities. When you look at SQL Server 2000-2005, we delivered a solid offering for departmental and mid-market IT organizations. Small mid-market was where we did most of the damage, I guess so to say, or we had a lot of installed base there. 2008 built on 2000-2005 by providing, I would say, a more comprehensive data platform solution for all markets. So we started, not that Microsoft wasn't in the enterprise, they were definitely in the enterprise, but it started becoming, or looked at as more of an enterprise database foundation solution. In this edition, we started seeing advances specifically in business critical and BI capabilities. And then we had 2000 R2, which added a lot of data management capabilities and enhanced the business intelligence piece quite a bit. A good example of this would be Power Pivot, which came along in 08 R2. It gives the users, the users the power to create their own BI solution, especially when integrated with like Excel and SharePoint, which is what Power Pivot's around. Now with 2012, we like to think that we set a new standard for business critical databases. We're going to talk about some of this stuff and end-to-end BI solutions, also cloud-ready technologies and solutions. So, I think, and so does Microsoft, that the new SQL Server offers a lot of major gains for your customers in availability and performance. So with that, let's take a look at some of the critical server needs that we hear from SMB and customers. So Microsoft spends a lot of time talking with small, medium business customers, and this is the things that when they talk to them that those customers talk about. And we notice things like availability, speed, and business intelligence capability. Things like consistent data, things like that. So if we look at how we match up to those needs, our solution, is definitely a modernized platform, and it's built around, I would say, 3 key tenets, which all of these fall into. Mission critical, confidence in our product when it comes to database, insight, which is the middle piece, what Microsoft would call breakthrough insight, and really having SQL Server on your terms. So when we look at this, like availability, always on is a very important feature in the availability section for us. That's our high availability piece when it comes to SQL Server. And the current version is 2 times faster than it was before, and we've made it a lot easier to use. When you look at speed, things like in-memory column store, we can deliver 10 times the data performance that we did in prior versions of the product. When it comes to compliance, SQL Server now runs on Server Core, which reduces your operating system. Server Core does a lot to reduce your operating system patching by up to 50 or 60% in most cases, which increases security of our product. And SQL goes along with that and allows you for greater uptime. So in that section in Mission Critical Confidence, we've done a lot there. When you look at the insight piece, again, we talked about Power Pivot for a second. It's built on Excel and the new Power View that's in 2012. When you look at BI, self-service BI, it allows, again, we talked about it allows end users to create their own BI solutions in SharePoint. So there's SharePoint is our delivery mechanism for the business intelligence stack when it comes to the BI piece. And then in data quality services, what good is data if it's not accurate? So when you look at that, especially around BI, our data quality services and our BI together equals data accuracy and productivity. And it's built right in. There's nothing extra to buy when it comes to SQL Server to get those types of things. And then we look at things like scalability. When it comes to analytics, our analytics are very scalable. Crazy amount of scalability these days in SQL Server and the things we see people doing with it. When you look at scale on demand, this is having SQL where you want it, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. Examples where customers have hybrid environments where they have SQL on-site as well as in the cloud, or in some cases just SQL in the cloud through our Azure platform. We feel our product's always been the time between deployment to production has been one of the best in the industries. And we also have lots of different, as we talked about a second ago, full ways to deploy the product. And management tools. Whether you're working with SQL Server in our Azure platform, in the cloud, or on-site, on-premise, you're going to be using the same set of tools to manage the product, which is important. So now let's take a look at why, we've talked a little bit about 2012. Now let's take a look at why, our customers, because they're both our customers, the end customers should look at modernizing their SQL platform. As noted before, the 3 tenets with SQL Server, we really deliver a cloud-ready information platform to companies looking to protect, unlock, scale the power of their data across whether it's their desktop devices, in their data center, or in the private or public cloud, which is what we talked about a little bit prior to. We do this through some things that we've already discussed around mission critical confidence, business insight, and bringing SQL customers cloud-based solutions really on their terms. When we look at this modernized platform, in order to help our customers to move their business forward, we need to help them make the right decisions when it comes to data. And making those decisions requires getting that right information to the right people at the right time. At the same time, many of our business customers are working with constrained budgets these days, and they have to make hard decisions or trade-offs in some cases. They need to do more with less, basically. I know that's something Microsoft's talked about for a long time, and to help them find new ways to compete. And we've got some examples of that towards the end that I can show you in some case studies Microsoft has that you can use with your customers to show them how that works. But no matter the size of the business or the IT department, the solution platform is modernization. By modernizing the platform, their business will run better, grow faster, and transform, so it's ready for the future. By updating, why upgrade? We hear that a lot. By updating to a more innovative, proven database like SQL Server 2012, our customers will have, a platform that's more productive, more reliable, more secure, and with a reduction in ongoing application maintenance costs. You get your applications stay alive longer, your maintenance costs go down. It becomes a reliable, affordable solution. Is the way to think of that. So customers upgrading to SQL Server for new and existing applications, they get the performance and reliability they need. That's what we're interested in to stay productive, while, like we just talked a second ago, reducing their cost of ownership. Um, Most of there's statistics that say up to 45% of the SQL Server installed base is currently on SQL Server 2000, 2005, especially in the SMB market. So chances are those customers are missing out on over a decade's worth of technology advances and business critical insight they could be getting to help them grow their business. So we talk about growth. In order to grow faster, our customers are looking to upgrade. When they do this with the Modernized platform, not only are they upgrading their databases, but also the hardware and their Windows operating systems. So if you look at what Microsoft is doing around product releases, a lot of it is a nice synergy. So that when people are looking to optimize or modernize their environment, especially on the server side as well as the desktop side, we release things together. That way they can modernize at the same time. Windows Server 2012 has been a big advancement for us when it comes to Microsoft, and we've had a very wide adoption rate for Server 2012. Again, a market there where we had a lot of people on a lot of older operating systems and hardware. So it's time basically for a lot of our customers, which is a good opportunity for you to capitalize on these new hardware, OS, and database sales. So this is one of the examples I was talking about a high available solution. This company is a shipping company, and they need to be online at all the time. They chose to go with SQL Server 2012 for their business critical shipping applications. So really what they were excited about was the SQL Always On. It supports their needs to track their shipments 24/7, 365 days a year. They cannot have downtime with SQL Server. And Always On allows them to achieve that. And there's a quote there from the director of their software architecture team regarding how he felt about 2012. So when you look at that, one is, again, their business has to be on all the time. We're able to install SQL Server 2012 and enable Always On in a matter of minutes. So the ease of setup, the high availability, and he also talks about the indexing capabilities, which saved them, 20 minutes, which may not sound a lot, but it ends up being a lot of available time versus downtime for this specific company. So when you look at also another example, we talked about insights within the company. This is another example of a company that specifically got some advantages out of the business insight piece that we were talking about. This company is called EdgeNet, and they basically connect manufacturer, retailers, and shopping engines to create like a product data feeds. Is the way to think of that. So their information is critical to them. So they were able to use the business intelligence capabilities of SQL 2012 to drive their sales and increase their analysis piece of their business, which allowed them to be more reactive, increase the speed of things they were doing, allow them to react to the market quicker. And they really got a lot of value out of the Power View piece, the way it can interactively display data and allows them to do a lot of reporting that helps them grow their business. And again, these examples, if you want to get more into them, they have them as case studies online off of the Microsoft SQL site. If you can't find that, let me know, and I can can lead you there. I'd like to go over a couple of these examples. This is another company. We talked about insight and reporting. This is another company, a realtor, that got quite a bit of value out of the business insight piece. I'm not going to go into this one too much. I want to focus on the next one a little more. This is the 911 system in Miami. So what they do, they were looking to revamp the system, and they saved roughly $900,000 a year by working with Microsoft's Azure platform. So they use SQL on site as well as when they get excess volume, maybe around times, I guess, where they're partying down in Miami and people are calling 911 a lot. So when they get excess volume, instead of adding more and more SQL servers on site, they have a hybrid environment on site as well as in the cloud, and that allows them to save a ton of money utilizing the Azure platform with their mixed environment that they have on site also to really save them a ton of money. So as you can see, the product is quite flexible, and we want to give you some real world examples of places where people have saved money regarding SQL Server. So when you look at pricing and licensing, just to go into a little bit, because we do get quite a few questions regarding the pricing and licensing of the product, and Microsoft did make quite a few changes, especially around things that were offered and things that aren't offered versus core versus sockets, things like that. So I do want to spend just the back half of this presentation talking about what's going on here regarding some of the new pricing licensing changes. So Microsoft, when you compare it, they still feel that they have the highest value amongst their competitors when it comes to SQL Server. And they make a lot of investments in the product to maintain that. So the thing to remember when you buy SQL Server, the Standard Enterprise or the BI Edition, which we're going to talk about, encapsulate in that is everything you need feature-wise that comes related to that edition. We don't sell extra parts or SKUs for certain features in the product like a lot of our competitors do. So again, Microsoft provides a lot already in there. We talked about the cloud optimization piece and the flexibility with having an on-site option as well as an Azure platform where SQL can be in the cloud, so you can build your private and public or hybrid clouds. And then I just was talking about the pricing and licensing. So Microsoft, we really feel it allows you to kind of pay as you grow when it comes to the SQL Server piece. And business intelligence, for the most part, it's built right in depending on which edition we're looking at. So this is the first thing to note. I touched on it a little bit, but there's now 3 editions of SQL Server. So in prior, we had some other editions that were out there, a Workgroup edition, a Web edition. There was an edition called Data Center. So we try to make it a lot simpler and collapse everything down into 3 editions. And there's still a free edition called Express, and one that's not listed here called Developer Edition for your development and test environments. So I don't know how much people know about SQL Developer Edition, but I get this quite a bit when I'm working with partners. They'll go ahead and quote out Enterprise or Standard for the test development side when really they can cover that with about a $40 part per user. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're working on SQL opportunities is the SQL Developer Edition and its role in the whole thing. So when you look at it, the old data center got collapsed into Enterprise. The thing to note about the Enterprise piece, and we sell a lot of Enterprise. Enterprise is really hot right now, especially with a lot of companies that are upgrading their databases. It just seems to be one of those times of the year when everybody's doing it. Was working just not too long ago with a really large airline that was migrating off of a SQL 2008 to a 2012 Enterprise piece. So the thing to note here is it's only sold by the core. So in the past, we did sell it by the processor. So we was looking at the physical processor. Now we look at the cores of that processor. So a 6-core processor, that looks like 6 cores, to us. So when you look at the licensing, we have to license all of those cores. And there's no more server and cal model for the Enterprise Edition. That's the big one to note there. Prior, you could buy the product in a server and cal model. Now you cannot. So we get a lot of questions around that. Then the new product in the family, I guess, the way to think of it, because it is new, is the BI Edition. It only is licensed in the server and cal model. No core model for BI. So really it's a way for our smaller customers to get the power of things that are in the Enterprise Edition and be able to buy it, again, at a scalable rate, in the server and cal model that might work a little better for them than a core model would for Enterprise. Again, a lot of the features are the same. There are differences, though. So that's something definitely to look at, and if anybody wants it, I can make sure I get the link out that goes over edition by edition. But if you go to TechNet and just search in the search screen, SQL Server Edition Comparison, Technical Edition Comparison, it does a really good job of explaining, what's what in each feature. But I think BI gets overlooked a lot in the conversation. Most of our conversations are around Standard or Enterprise, and I have had quite a few opportunities where BI met the technical need, and it was also an economical solution for them versus having to license by the core and go to enterprise. So, if you look at a lot of your standard opportunities, standard gives you the flexibility of both licensing types. It allows you to go server and cal or by the core, which, again, standard, we sell a lot of standard edition of SQL Server, but I have noticed a lot of standard moving up to enterprise. And like I was saying before, the thing to remember is the BI edition. So some of your standard edition offerings as customers, it's always important to look at what their needs actually are, especially around capacity and scaling and business intelligence. Maybe a lot of good opportunities there to move them up into that BI edition or even further up into the enterprise edition based on, what they need out of the product. So that's all I really want to say about that slide. But we did have quite a few significant changes, so that's the thing to remember. And downgrade rights, you definitely have downgrade rights. We have customers that want to take advantage of that. The Enterprise Edition can downgrade to any edition of the prior products. The Business Intelligence Edition only downgrades to the Standard Edition. The Standard Edition downgrades to the Standard Edition, so that's something to note too. The next thing, is the capacity by cores. Again, this is kind of the pay for the power you need model. A core, again, a 6-core processor, that's 6 cores. I have 2 6-core processors, that's 12 cores. So if you look at physical server licensing, basically you count up all your cores, a minimum of 4 cores per processor, so there are some older machines back there, but you won't get into that too much. Most of these opportunities I work on are 6, 8 cores and plus per socket, and then you license all those cores. That pack is sold in a 2-pack, so it's just some simple division there. So in that 12-core example, I use 2 6-core processors equals 12 total cores. I divide it by 2, which is how we sell the 2-packs, and you would need 6 2-packs to cover that model that I just talked about there. Another option that's out there is an unlimited virtualization option. If you do Enterprise Edition with software assurance, and I have worked with a few customers that were doing this, specifically where they were running a lot of SQL servers. Usually that's virtually, though. They can buy Enterprise Edition with software assurance and get an unlimited installation right for that physical piece of hardware. So in some cases, that is a nice offering there. Virtual machine licensing, same. A lot of people confuse this, but we're just licensing virtual cores. So if I take that same example, that 12-core system, and I create a virtual machine and I give it 4 or less virtual cores, then that's how I'm licensing the SQL in the virtual environment, those 4 or less virtual cores. The thing to remember, there is a 4-core minimum. So whether I create a 1-processor, 2-processor, 3-processor, or 4-processor SQL Server, I'm still going to buy the same 2 2-packs to cover that 4. If I go to 5 or 6, then this is where the pay for what you need. I add the 5th or 6th virtual core, then I'm adding another 2-pack. And that doesn't matter whether I'm doing enterprise or standard. The rules are the same for virtual machines. So I think that creates some confusion for people, but the thing to remember is a virtual core, when you're licensed it, is just like a core on a physical machine. A lot of people think when they're virtualizing, they have to license all the physical cores, and that's not true. If I would have created one SQL Server that needed to run standard in, and it had 4 cores or less, I'm going to be buying 2 2-packs to cover those 4 virtual cores or less that I'm running. So really not that bad, but if you do need help with that, our team is here to help you with that. I do quite a bit of those conversations. So if that's something, again, you need assistance with, just ask for myself, John, or Joe, those 2 of us that are here today. We can definitely help you with that type of thing. User or device, we talked about that. This really applies to the BI edition or the standard edition. In this case, you license the number of servers you have, and then you buy client access licenses for your users. So we noticed this model typically in situations where they're putting in a database that's going to work for a small number of people, 30 or less, and standard or the BI edition is the way they want to go. So they buy the number of server licenses for SQL servers they're going to have. Usually it's 1, and then X number of client access licenses. And when the numbers get a little higher, like if we're going to have SQL Server work with a website, that type of thing, then the core model that I described earlier is the better option. And we can definitely help you through those types of things and those types of questions when it comes to to SQL Server. Again, I do this all day long. Joe had my information up there. We can definitely, if it's something you have an opportunity and you want to talk about, I do a lot of conference calls within customers on SQL Server too. I actually had already 3 of them today. Some were really large, and some were a couple of them were kind of small. So doesn't matter. Every deal is important to me. And the good thing I would say, and again, not to brag about myself, but I do know a lot about the product technically as well as the licensing. So we can be I can be a one kind of stop place for you when it comes to helping you sell SQL Server. And again, I know I've showed, kind of talked about a lot of different things. If there's specific piece you want to talk about, I know this is a webinar. I'd much rather just talk to you individually about it. So you could call me and we could go over what your specific interest is regarding that. I have access to a lot of resources from Microsoft to help you win SQL opportunities, that type of thing. So, again, if you haven't talked to me or worked with me, my name is John Megling. I'll throw out how it can be reached one more time. It's 800-237-8931, extension 82031, option 2, and more than happy to help you close SQL business. And with that, that's really all I had today for this webinar. I know it's kind of short and sweet, but I think there's a lot of information in there, a lot to think about regarding the opportunity, not only with SQL Server, but with the Windows operating system and hardware to help our customers modernize, their server, as well as desktop platforms. So again, I appreciate your attendance, and I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. And